Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make your own frame rest on your boxes. We showed you how to make the nuke box, but the tricky part is getting the frame rest done if you don't have a special router, a dado stack set, or an arbor on your table saw that will accommodate that dado set. Now, real quick before we get into the cuts, we're going to show you kind of why we made the box the way we did, and also some things that you could do. We're also going to show you a couple other variations if we get a chance this winter, and we're going to show you a couple other things you can do with the 5-frame nuke. So first of all, most of your boxes, at least the ones that I've purchased, usually have a 5/8 of an inch depth from the top of the box to the frame rest down in here. Now, we made ours 3/4 of an inch, and there's a reason for this. Pretty much just so that we can lay a patty up in here. Now, there's still not a whole lot of space up here for a patty, but typically when we're feeding pollen patties to a 5-frame nucleus colony, they're not that large. And if you need a large one, you can always place a special made feeder rim or an additional box on top to accommodate it. Same principle for if you need to feed a sugar brick or something like that. Now, one of the other things that we did, you probably noticed if you've built a few boxes yourself or measured your own boxes, that a deep box is about an inch almost shorter than this. It really depends on the company. Sometimes it's a little bit less by 1/8. But anyways, we made ours to where it is 10.5, to where you have a solid inch below this frame. It's hard to see, but you have an inch of space back in there. This is really important if you're in swarm season and you have a queen cell on the bottom of your comb. This is what typically happens. Now, sometimes you will get a swarm cell or 2 or 5 or 10 that are up in here, but the majority are typically at the bottom of the combs, and if it's hanging off 1/2 inch or more, you're going to need that extra space down there, or you're going to crush that cell. Now, an inch should be plenty of room, unless you have something weird going on, but typically they hang off about yay far, so an inch should be plenty enough where we don't damage any of those swarm cells. And what you can do if you have boxes like this is you can take a frame that has one on it, you can take another frame that has one on it, you can shake in some bees, just don't shake the combs that have the swarm cells on them, because you don't want to damage those young developing queens in there, especially if they're in the wing development stage. You will crumple their wings because they're so soft. So you have to be very careful with that. And in early stages, you can actually sling them off of the royal jelly up top, and that's no good either. Just don't be shaking queens around, all right? But anyways, that's why we made that depth right there, so it would accommodate a cell. And many people have asked about the hole here, and you can make them at the bottom. Some people prefer that. I've made them like this in the center in the past. Good, strong, well-bred colonies are very good about cleaning debris out of colonies that have just a hole like this. But you definitely could just drill that hole down here at the bottom or made a cut, and that would work just great. You can be in the center, wherever you want. Bees are pretty adaptable as long as they're healthy and have the right requirements. You know, good, great queens, dead mites, and good nutrition. They're going to do just fine. So let's get to the building part. So that frame rest that the frames are sitting on, without the easy tools, this is how you're going to have to do it. Now, first of all, you're going to have a table saw, and you have to have one that is actually going to cut things straight. So I know there's some cheap $90 table saws out there, and my experience with table saws like that is it's more of a frustration than anything. But as long as yours cuts straight, you're good. Now, I can't really give you a whole lot of measurements on this because there are some variables with table saws. Why is there variables with everything? Why? I mean, anyways, so come over here and take a look. So basically what we've done is we've taken this scrap board, which we're going to use as our frame rest, and we're going to cut another one as well, and we have measured it to where it is cutting 3/4 of an inch up into the board, and let me grab something. And most importantly, leaving 3/8 of an inch over on this side of the blade. That is the side that we're going to be keeping. Now, 3/8 of an inch is half of the thickness of a 3/4 inch board, which that's the stock that we're using. So we've got this one cut. We're going to cut the next one, and then we're going to show you how we cut this off. It's not that hard. The hardest part is this first cut, so let's get that going. Now you need to wear eye protection and all of that kind of stuff. I've misplaced mine temporarily. Seriously, I have. Alright, so we're going to take this board right here. Now one of the key things I'm going to show you before I start cutting is you've got to make sure that it is flat up against this rip fence right here, and the whole way. So it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Mine were not. But the ones that I did on that nucleus colony down there were done with this method. They weren't with my dado stack set. So here we go. Helps if you hit the green button. Be very careful. I know too many people that are not able to count to 10 with their fingers because they weren't. So we're going to take this. Well, why don't you get on this side of me? Shoot over this away. I don't want that coming back on me. Alright, there we go. We're just going to take this. And there's that. So, now you're probably wondering how I got the measurement for this. Well, again, there's some variables. So if you've noticed, there is a red insert piece right here that can be pulled in and out, and it drops down about a 32nd of an inch, and that's why it's hard for me to give you measurements, because not all table saws have these, and since this board's so thin, it pretty much rides on that for most of the way. So you'll need to tinker around a little bit. I suggest you get some scrap pieces of wood and you run it through a couple, once or twice with some scrap pieces, and make sure that you have 3/4 of an inch up in here. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the 3/4 inch mark, and it goes right up against it. So that's good. And now we need to cut off this excess piece. So how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, I usually just eyeball it. Now, you can measure the stuff, and that's the best way to do it. But honestly, I just eyeball things a lot of times. So I'm going to... Oh, watch out, camera. That is just about right. And now we have to lower the blade a little bit. Some of you are thinking, what in the world? Now, on this, especially since now you're working with the pieces that you're going to be using, start out a little bit low if you're unsure. And make sure that you don't cut up into that 3/8 of an inch piece up here that you need. That needs to be a strong piece if possible, so try not to cut into it at all because you're going to weaken that. Now, I'm going to just kind of eyeball down there, make sure that we've got it right. And this is where, again, you need a test piece to where you can get this just right. Now you can get this all measured up with your table saw. There we go. Right there. And we'll see how this works. There goes something. Again, double check and make sure that your 3/8 of an inch side is the side that's on top. And there we have it right there. It's not perfect, but it is plenty close enough, and you can see we have a nice frame rest. And the next piece, of course, is going to be exactly the same because this table saw is nice, and where we cut this one, this next one's going to be as well. So right there, you got yourself a frame rest. It's really not that hard. We didn't need any special tools for it, but just make sure that you're careful when you're doing this, and also just double check everything that you do, because it's very easy to throw the board on the wrong direction and then you cut off the side that you needed and all that stuff. So just be careful. If you have any questions about building these nukes, leave them below. And also, we're going to be showing you how you can turn these into mating nukes. I'm going to split them down the middle. I've got a video for that. Actually, I'm going to leave that in the comments below. So if you want to check that out, I want to pin that at the top. One of my buddies in Hawaii, he's got a really neat setup, and I just think that instead of going with these little 2-frame mini nukes that are very limited on all the things that you can do with them, you can have a 5-framer that you can overwinter, split it down the middle, nuke over here, and just take your operation and nuke it. Anyways, on that high note, we're out of here. Thanks for watching.